Voices to hear.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Voices to Hear. I'm Emre.
I'm Jakub.
And we are today with
Simona.
And we will talk about stress. Stress plays an important role in our lives, and everyone, especially the young people, should be informed about what is stress and how to manage it. So we wanted to inform young people a little bit about stress. That's why we choose this topic. Can you talk about yourself a little bit?
Well, like I said, my name is Simona and I am 23 years old. I just finished my bachelor's in psychology, and right now I'm exploring different fields of psychology through internships.
What is stress, and do you believe there are any differences between stress and anxiety? And how can we distinguish between the two in our daily lives?
Well, stress in the most basic sense means physical and mental response to a situation that seems challenging or very demanding for us. The way that it works is that it prepares our body to trigger hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, which makes you more alert and focused, which in some sense is good for you, but also it can be a lot for the organism. You asked about the difference between stress and anxiety. I would say there are similarities and differences because they always overlap. They don't cancel each other out. I would say that stress is closer to fear and anxiety is closer to worry. Fear makes us react quickly in a momentary situation in a way that will have the best outcome for survival. Worry, however, exists for more complex and time-consuming situations. It helps us in the problem-solving process. It makes us think in more details and in depth about the situation, which helps us see all solutions. But if that worry turns into obsessively overthinking, then it becomes anxiety. Stress and anxiety overlap in the physiological reaction, but I would say the main difference is that anxiety is more based on imagination because you worry about things that might happen, while stress is a response to something that already exists.
So thank you for your answer. And now we are going to a little bit similar question, which is, we know that a little stress is inevitable. So what is good stress and what are the benefits of it?
Well, I would explain this through a metaphor, like as a hunter and a prey, because both parties are under stressful situations, because it's a, high-stakes situation for both of them. But the hunter feels the good stress, and the prey feels the bad stress. What that means is that the level of stress that the hunter has is something he can manage. The stress is moderate and it hits just the right amount of adrenaline where it gives him the focus and alertness to win the battle. He also has more control in the situation, which gives him the upper hand. It doesn't control the environment, and his levels of stress are bigger, which makes his focus narrower, and instead of alert, he can go into fight or flight mode. In other ways I can describe this is, for example, when we're seeing a scary movie or going on a roller coaster ride. That kind of stress is not overwhelming, but it's just the right amount to stimulate you. The way you can use stress in a good way or as a motivation is by shifting from fight or flight mode to seeing it as a challenge. If it's the right amount of stress, you'll be more equipped to handle the challenge because your body will use the maximum, let's say, power that the stress hormones give you.
I think for me, the stress is always like this. Sometimes I need to be under the stress to make some things better and quicker.
I really hate myself when I'm in stress, so it's really difficult for me, especially in my university years. And I'm 25 right now, and I remember my early 20s, it was very stressful, and I had to deal it alone, so it was really difficult. And I can say that I've learned to deal with it a little bit in a hard way, but now I can control it, but it was really difficult for me. So I think everyone should learn how to deal with it stress.
Yeah, to have it as a motivator, not to make it bad for us. So this is important.
Yes, I think as you get older, it's easier to learn that mechanism where you transform the stress into a challenge and a motivator.
So this is going to be a little bit of private question for you. Does studying psychology help you cope with stress? For example, how did you deal with exam stress in the past? How did you overcome stress in your senior year?
Well, as any major, mine was also the cause of stress and not the solution. But I would say my overall interest in psychology made me read more about mental health and how to deal with anxiety and depression and stress and all of that. What I think helped me the most is realizing what is happening in the moment and that it's just a stressful situation and it will pass and my heart will slow down and I will eventually figure it out, whatever it is. And as you grow up, you kind of realize that not everything is a life or death situation and no one expects you to do everything perfectly because no one actually can make it perfect. And no matter how much you mess something up, you can always do it again and fix your mistakes and eventually figure stuff out, especially in school. Also, a nice way to overcome the fear of taking tests is to remember that stress is not always your enemy. It will help you awake and be focused and keep blood going quicker, which will help you recall more information. And at the end of the day, you can always retake the exam and nothing is as important as keeping your health, which you won't be if you're under constant overwhelming stress.
Sometimes I think a little bit to postpone some things, maybe do it again, but do it better. So in this case, stress can be helpful, like to have this motivation to do it. So how do we build resilience to better handle stress mentally in both our personal and professional life?
I think there are some techniques that can work in any situation. I would divide them into a few categories. Like, for example, box breathing. I usually don't think that breathing techniques have a very big outcome. But when you think about it, when you're under stress, your body instinctively lets out a deep breath. And that usually kind of calms your whole body down, at least a small percentage. So what box breathing is, breathing in for 4 seconds, then holding it for 4 seconds, then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 4 seconds. And even though it sounds simple and ineffective, this breathing technique is what helps calm down the physiological symptoms, such as the heart palpitations and the sweating. Also, what I think works really well is grounding. When you feel like you're under stress, you feel like your body and your thoughts are everywhere. So the way to kind of come down back to earth, I would say, is to feel everything and name everything that you feel through your senses. So you name 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste.
So you have to use every sense, like the movement, smelling, or talking. This is like the best way to use it, yeah, to calm down.
Yes. So sight, touch, smell, taste, and sound. And this is a technique that I've tried many times and it works really well for me. Also, like in every situation, movement is very important, whether that is to walk your dog around the block or going to the gym, whatever helps you and whatever works best for you. It's always good to have some form of movement or exercise that you prefer.
Because like when you have a lot of movement, it's like also connected to our mental health. So it's the best way to be healthy actually, to connect the physics and mentality with each other.
Yes, and also the excessive amount of adrenaline that you have, it will be wasted on the exercise and you'll feel a lot calmer and better overall. Also, talking and writing. Some people prefer this method. That's why psychologist exists, I guess. Because by talking to people about the problem, you become more aware of it, and that way you can take the power away from the burden. Another way of releasing the thing that bothers you is by writing. Some people don't feel comfortable with talking about their problem, so maybe writing about it will ease it for them.
Yeah, you first write it, then read it, then it's easier to understand it more.
Yes, and you accept it as something that's a part of you and it's not the enemy. Next thing that I want to talk about is gratitude and acts of kindness. I think these go one with the other. For example, not just thinking about what is stressing you out and all the overwhelming thoughts, but also thinking about the things that you are grateful for and that are positive in your life. And you can go from the smallest things like getting your coffee order just right, and then you go, even further, like you got the promotion or you got the best grade, something that is important to you, and you got, of course, family, friends, health, all of that. It will help you remember that not everything is so gray and overwhelming. And acts of kindness kind of work together with this, because as you help others and do good things in the world, it kind of helps you appreciate yourself even more.
I have also another small question. So we are not psychology students, like we do not study psychology. What is the easiest thing that we can do when we feel stressed? Like what is the quickest thing to overcome it?
Maybe you have had some other advices. For example, when you have a speech, what you can do when you have a speech, you lost your thoughts, lost your voice as well, and you are frozen on the stage. And what you can do in this situation?
I think your body will tell you what it needs. Like I said, with the breathing out when you're stressed, it comes instinctively. When you, like you said, when you have a speech, it automatically comes to you to close your eyes and to breathe slowly and just control your breath. And then you'll have people, let's say, backstage before you give your speech, and you'll ramble to them like, oh my god, I'm so stressed, and it will pass through you, like I said, with the talking. And then you have also the people that will comfort you. That's also one of the techniques. They will calm you down and say it's fine, even if you mess up, it's gonna be fine. If nothing else, people are gonna laugh. Everybody's gonna laugh, but in a nice way. So everything will pass eventually, and the stressful situation will pass. But at the end of the day, we're all different, and I strongly believe that our intuition will guide us to the right path eventually. Maybe you will mess up once or twice in a difficult situation, but after a while and as you grow up, your body learns and you learn as well.
So it is really important to listen to your body.
Yes.
Because your body can say you everything what you need.
Yes.
So it's important to listen it and then do it what is good for you actually in this kind of stress situations.
Yes, that's what I believe. I think if you pay attention to it, you will figure out what the signs are when it tells you something.
Also, I have a question. I heard, because usually people think that swearing is not good way to deal with stress. But also, sometimes you can, by swearing, put your emotion out. So it's a good technique, sometimes, of course, not in the formal situation, but if you are under stress before, for example, to use it as putting out emotions.
Yes, because we store tension in our body, and if you have found a way, even if it is swearing, I would say go for it. If it doesn't hurt you or anyone else, just go for it and do whatever helps you release that tension.
So the swearing is not always bad.
Yeah.
I actually felt so stressed before my workshop, and you were also there, and my hands were literally shaking, and Jakub that day told me that, oh, everything's gonna be okay, and 50 times. But I didn't believe him. But after some time, I said, just do it. It won't harm me in any way. So I did it. After that, I felt kind of okay. I kind of felt that I was a bit successful because I overcome my stress somehow.
Yes, because I was at the workshop. I also noticed. But I think it was during the intro when you were introducing us to the topic. But once you got into the topic and started explaining everything, I think it became fun for you, and the interaction between the public and you started, and that's when you calmed down.
Yes.
So I think when you get in the zone, it's when the stress kind of goes away, because you feel like we're all in this together. It's not everyone against me.
Do you have other advices how to deal with long stress? For example, before I came to Macedonia, for a few days, I felt myself actually, because it was so stressful to change my life, to go to another part of the Europe. So I didn't really know how to deal with it, because you said some techniques, but you can do it literally you feel really under the stress. But it's a long stress, and maybe you know how to do some other things, or any other advices that you can give to the people? For example, they have like big exam in 1 month, and whenever they think about it, they feel frozen. So do you have any advices for this kind of situations?
Well, what has helped me in situations like that is kind of romanticizing my life. Maybe let myself fall down in the moment where everything is just all over the place. But by romanticizing your life, I mean picturing your future self when you have finished that big step in your life. For example, you moving to Macedonia, you picture yourself being here and your life here, and everything is nice and going scripted, I guess, and just believing in that. And if you can picture it, that means that it also gives you hope that everything will be okay, because you will picture that person, which is you. But because a version in your head has already done that, then that's where you're gonna be and that's where you're supposed to be, and it will be okay. You'll feel more confident that you will solve the problem because some version of you already has solved the problem.
I hope I knew it before, because it was a really stressful week for me.
Also, in this sense, it also helps me if, for example, I was very stressed about working my first corporate job. So I would watch series or like parts of movies where there's a female character that worked in a corporate job. And I would just, again, romanticize the Lulu is the Sululu. And when I romanticized, oh, I'm gonna have a life like her and everything, it became easier and more exciting and less stressful.
So it's like to having more similar situation, like watching the TV show, because you can literally see what will happen.
Yes.
Maybe, for example, this kind of situation, realize and watch something like, you'd say, TV show, or other, I don't know, the interview or any other things, because then it's coming more similar to you and you can more associate with this.
Yes, it's like you're projecting what you want onto another character. It can be imaginary or it can be something that you've seen or something similar. But it's a good kind of projection.
I also always dream about something good before I sleep. So it makes me, relax a little bit. So that is actually my solution.
I learned a lot today. It was a pleasure to meet you and talk with you. I think the techniques that you mentioned with imaginations, with romanticizing, will really help in my life, and for sure I will use it.
That's all for today's episode of Voices to Hear. We hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Voices to Hear.